Hey everyone, it's your boo, Kinder 4012.
Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Video podcast. My name is Lotus Liu. So on the podcast, we just allow people to have a space to be themselves, talk about whatever it is that they would like to speak about. We've had so many people here tell all different types of stories about all different types of experiences. And today we have a special guest. He's an astrologist. His name is Oak. Oak, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up? Nice to connect with y'all. My name is Oak, as mentioned, and I run an astrology school, Oak Astrology School. And yeah, I have been a professional astrologer for the past 7 years. And I launched my school about almost 2 years ago. And it's been a beautiful ride.
Gosh, okay. So I've actually had my holistic health journey. I was a massage therapist for about 3.5 years. And so we studied all sorts of modalities. Shiatsu has to be one of my favorite just because, I love the whole Reiki aspect as well. I've been kind of like dabbling lately more into the idea of going back into the arts. But honestly, for me, it's like, I feel like spirituality is all connected in a sense. What inspired you to take that journey through learning more about astrology?
I just want to reflect on what you were saying. I actually was doing massage therapy for a long while. And that was kind of my two jobs at some point. I was doing astrology and doing massage, and the massage was killing me. I didn't really have enough chi to really push through and maintain my own energetic sovereignty while seeing clients. And it was just very difficult for me to hold myself. And I felt myself really losing a lot of life force. So I get it. And I feel you. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that because I felt the same way. It takes a lot of energy away from me working on people. And especially because I don't feel like it's just work on the muscle. It's energy flowing back and forth. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's a lot, especially when you feel people's pain and they come in with their stories and you want to help people and their struggles. And then you start sensing, personally, me, who's gone through the spiritual journey in the last 2 years of being able to reflect and feel energy, where I can kind of see visual concepts in my mind. I can feel the things that people have gone through, especially when I, with touch. And so I feel like I can feel their struggle, their pain, things that are happening, especially in certain areas of the body. So it's interesting that you say that. But yeah, I think that your journey fascinates me because it's everyone is curious about astrology. I one time bumped into this lady and she was like, oh, she made a mock of astrology and was like, you must be from California, but it's like, well, astrology is not for people that are just trying to find a trend or trying to find a merch with their zodiac sign on it. There are people that are actually dedicated to the art and to that knowledge. And I think that it's fascinating, especially with my friend just recently getting more involved in that. I'm just now my mind's just I'm so curious about everything, and then she tells me things that have to pertain to my I don't even know, my stars and with who I am. I'm just okay, wait, what? I'm life's already complicated, girl. Don't get the moon and the sun involved. Yeah. So speak to us about your journey, kind of when you kind of starting off, and then kind of through your schooling, and then let's go from there.
So I started my spiritual journey over 12 years ago. And I actually was just working at a bank. I was going to school full time. I was just moved out of my mom's house. I was in my early 20s, I was 22 years old. And I was just trying to do it all, trying to party, trying to work, trying to go to school. And I ended up having this really intense accelerated heart rate, where my heart rate was going at resting 130, where the average for a healthy young individual might be between 60 to 90. And my resting was really, really high. And in that moment, I realized that I could just die. I was like, fuck, if I drink too much or if I, smoke too many cigarettes, it could, I basically was just like kind of pushed into this deep inquiry with myself around, what would it be like if I just died right now? Like, would I have anything to show for myself? Would anyone say anything good about me? And I really thought long and hard, and they were trying to prescribe me blood pressure medication. And I was like, I can't be on that at like such a young age. And so I decided to kind of figure it out holistically. And so I was starting to, thinking about different diets. I tried so many different diets. I started, working out, learning meditation, learning energy healing. It really just took me into this pathway. And I think that when you're having your spiritual awakening, your mind just becomes so open that you're just like, I'm gonna learn this, and I'm gonna learn this, and I'm gonna learn this. So it's like when you kind of get into your spiritual journey, like it's actually overwhelming with all the knowledge. And so I think the only thing that really supported me in that time was herbalism. And I figured out that hawthorn berry was something that could heal the physical heart. But also, when I learned more about the spiritual properties of plants, it's like, oh, this heals the physical, emotional, and the spiritual heart. And so like, I really, really resonated deeply with herbalism. I actually resonated with everything. I was like studying crystals and just all the things, and from there, I just kept studying and studying and studying, and had a very deep yoga practice for a long time. And suddenly I found astrology when I really needed it. And from then I just didn't pick up any other books for like over 3 or 4 years, got a mentor, just like really started to devote myself to the practice. And the thing that I realized about astrology is that because it's a holistic system that is very fluid, like any particular holistic system can be integrated to other frameworks. And so astrology is, it's a wisdom tradition that spans all time, because all cultures have their own relationship to the stars and the cosmos, and that's the interconnectivity between life. And so basically, like, I realized that I was like, oh, astrology is the same thing as herbalism. Astrology is the same thing as how it relates to the physical body. And from there, I was able to actually take all the things that I've learned with crystals and meditation and all the healing practices that I've really cultivated. Everything felt very disparate. I didn't feel like I knew just one thing, because I had been studying a lot of things for many years. And all of a sudden, when I started doing astrology, I realized that I just had like this immense framework, this immense tool that actually organized all of the information that I had. And so the way that I practice, I really do focus a lot on the body. And especially, as I've been doing massage therapy, it's like I could really see the way that someone's energetics would really show up in their body. And that's kind of what you were describing, Lotus, with just like really feeling someone's pain and feeling the knots in their body where a lot of that tension lies. Like that's also, essentially, it could be astrological if you're utilizing the system. So from there, I resonate a lot with sharing information and teaching. And I launched a course in like 2019. And it was just like learn astrology, like really brief course. And the students that signed up, like I realized that they weren't really getting it, or they weren't really like integrating the information. It wasn't really hitting them. And so I emailed everyone that signed up and I was like, do y'all want to, go over this material every week for the next, I think it's going to take about 8 to 12 months. And people said yes. And I really thought about it. I was like, oh shit, is this a school? And it actually makes more sense because I'm like quite thorough and I really like to have people drop into the material in a deep way. So I didn't plan on having a school. I actually had no experience in teaching, but when I really thought about my own birth chart and what it was saying, it's like, actually, I am actually more meant to be a teacher than I am to be a practitioner. So
Mhm.
It's been a good ride, but I just suddenly ended up having to like create so much coursework. And these past 2 years, I've like really worked nonstop to create the foundations for my school. And it's just been beautiful. Mainly because when you create something with your own, with your own energy, it just will draw people to you that resonate with you. And so I've really been able to work with the people I want to work with. And it's cool because, like just to think about like where my mind is at when I'm thinking about like who this work is for, there's a relationship that queer folks and marginalized folks have to astrology. They love astrology because we oftentimes are misunderstood. We oftentimes are in political and social structures that actually don't allow us to have the space to be ourselves because everything is through the lens of the colonizer. And so like being able to actually teach from my lens and my experiences, because all the astrology I learned was from white spaces, like the extreme like blossoming of astrology in the past 3 to 5 years has made it so that there's more access. There's actually more younger and just like brown and beautiful queer people that are studying. But I used to go, like I've gone to conferences and it's just like all white folks, all older white folks. And it's not necessarily bad because astrologers are like some of the most compassionate and just like well-learned people when it comes to like the human experience. But it's just been amazing. Like it's been amazing to like, look at my classes and like everyone is just like me. It's like my community. And it just feels really good. Like I feel like I'm in really deep service. And
it's quite interesting to see how much astrology can kind of like, or not only astrology, but like spirituality resonates with so many different aspects of someone's life. So like you mentioned in your birth chart, you feel or that you're meant to teach, and you never thought you'd have a school, but here you are teaching something that feels right to you, and you're right in line with your birth chart, which is kind of something similar with me. I'm meant to create and perform, and I didn't think that this was something that I would ever be doing, is on YouTube, having a podcast, but I'm supposed to allow people to have their spaces for their truth and for their justice and for their light. And that's exactly what I do here on my channel. So it's kind of interesting how spirituality tends to align with spirituality tends to align with aspects of your life. You know what I mean? Growing into things that you never thought you'd be doing, or like a career path, or whatever charitable work you want to do. It's interesting how things fall in line.
I mean, I feel like it's people who are like hitting the point. It's like the laws of attraction. Like once you really figure out like what you're destined to do and what you're here for, you'll start to attract, the people that are like-minded towards you. As you were saying, Oak, like you're so happy to see like people in your class that look like you and have similar backgrounds because you've attracted that. And astrology is very interesting too, because astrology is like I think there's 3 things that like connects us as a people as a whole. It's numerology, astrology, and there's one more, I can't think of it, but it's like all the same across the world. Like astrology, the whole astrology, I'm not too in depth with it, but I do know that like everybody across the world has like the same astrology sign. There might be different beliefs and stuff, but the synopsis of it is pretty much the same. And I want to go into a question with Oak, like what's your astrology sign? And like, how did you learn more about yourself through astrology?
I'm a Libra and my moon is in Taurus and I'm a Virgo rising. And that's a good question. Like, how did you learn more about yourself? There's like understanding your sign, right? And then there's also understanding like the deep psychology that's associated with that, which maybe we think of with astrology as like psychological, but there's also physicality. There's also the aspect of like, what are the ancestral indicators for being that sign? Like, what does that really mean? And so there's like multi-layered, there's multiple dimensions of how you can really relate to just one sign. And then of course there's like an entire chart. But I was actually talking to one of my students today who she knows her chart very well, but through life experiences and through different things that have occurred in her life, it's like she's been able to deepen into the understanding of like what it really means to be that sign, that moon placement, because it's not a static thing. It's like it continually unfolds as you get to connect. And so you may understand, for example, for me, it's like I may understand Libra as relational. And I may understand that as like wanting to maintain beauty in relationships. But, what's the psychology around that? And what happens when you're not in beautiful relationships? What happens to your spirit? And also, like, what does that mean in the context of how do you really engage the rest of the world? And how does that inform your love relationships? How does that inform, the relationships that you have with your coworkers? And so it's like, it's so powerful. Because life is always going, and there's always different stimuli, there's always different things that are good, or there's things that are challenging, and those are planetary energies as well. So the way that those planetary energies impress upon you and impress upon, we can think of it as the birth chart or just your sense of self. It's like there's so many different alchemical reactors and reactions that happen when life occurs. And so it's like you continually get to understand your birth chart as life is happening. And that's why it's like you keep coming back, because it's just like, oh my God, this thing happened. And now I'm having this immense reaction, or I'm having a lot of stuff come up. And it, like you were saying, like, numerology, astrology, like they're languages that describe like the makings of all things, and also just like the language of energy. So, yeah.
Have you done like any sort of psychedelics? Like I've just come back from my ayahuasca trip, and it was quite an experience. Have you done anything like that before?
Yeah, I've done. I go on medicine journeys. I do medicine work too, because I feel like those things are, if it resonates with you, it really helps to kind of like break through particular barriers in the heart and the mind, and it just is something that helps you align spiritually.
I agree.
I have a piggyback question on that. Okay, so I was recently invited to a healing circle, which is, I think, full moons or something. So I'm like super excited to go. So I don't know when I have to see in my text messages. But are you familiar with like healing circles and like the full moon, and like does that correlate with like astrology?
Yeah, the moon is involved.
Kenny, it depends. Who invited you to this function?
Oh no, he's super into like energy and stuff. It's this guy that I met. We went hiking. He's super cool. He had just went to his first healing circle last month, so he was like, "Oh, you should come to next month's healing circle, which is gonna be January." And I guess I just like do it on the beach, and like I stick like drums and stuff. I don't know.
I want to know.
But I'm like, oh, that sounds really fun and like exciting. It sounds like an experience. But apparently you're supposed to do it on full moon, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure Oak has been through all sorts of different types of rituals and drum circles and things of that nature. I personally think that music plays a huge part in, I feel like, certain frequencies, especially because I'm into meditating. So I feel like meditating with certain beats and drums and things of that nature tend to help me get into like the center of who I am, and has my mantras kind of flowing, as I like to call them. So how do you normally stay spiritually grounded throughout the course of your days, weeks, months, years, Oak?
Anything could be a healing circle, like for real. There could be like an intentional healing circle where you're, going out onto the beach, you light a fire, there's music, there's instruments, maybe there's just meditation, there's breath work, like there's all the different ways that you could, it's actually just intention. If the intention is to, connect more deeply and to release, that's kind of like a thing for full moons, then there's that. And something as simple as like connecting with a friend and meditating and just saying like, let's have this moment be healing, and let's set this to be a sacred space. Like there's something that will arrive as long as you create because you're a creator. Like we're all creators. and like, anything can be healing. Like, and I think that that's really what's beautiful, is that whatever resonates with you, like how Lotus like really resonates with music. Like for me, I resonate with herbs, and I resonate with plants, and I really deeply resonate with dance. So yeah, anything can
Love
be
that.
I love that. That's beautiful.
In terms of staying spiritually grounded, wow. I mean, when you work, and I'm sure you're familiar with just doing like one-on-one physical therapy, like your energetic hygiene game needs to be on point. And for me, like teaching and seeing clients like every day, and I work a lot, like the levels of how much I need to really make sure that I treat my body well, and I kind of think of it too. It's like, when you're a business owner, like a spiritual business owner, and you're seeing clients, like someone's paying for your session. Like if you're doing Reiki, it's like they're paying you for the hour or whatever, but it's also like you have 30 minutes to like ground in, hopefully before the session. And then after, you're clearing yourself. And like, that's necessary, because otherwise you're going to cut your life short, legit. Like you could literally get into deep shit by not taking care of your physical vessel. And I really learned the hard way. And I feel like after doing these really intense readings and even massage for like all those years, the past 7 years, like I think I've only gotten down like my practices just recently. And so there's a lot of different ways. Spending time in nature is key. I really resonate with foot baths because it's just a little bit easier for me. So like 30 minutes, salt bath for your feet, it'll like cleanse the aura pretty good. But I feel like I have to invest a lot in my healing. Like one of my favorite astrologers that I'm friends with, and she's very, 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 very busy. She gets energy work every week. And, that's a big investment, especially if your practitioner is like really talented. But I feel that those things are necessary. And so it's like, yeah, people think they're just booking a session, with their healing practitioner, but it's a lot more than that. And yeah, there's so much. I almost feel like most practitioners like really need to understand the relationship to caring for the physical, mental, and spiritual vessel.
Yeah, I get like I go to the same woman at least once a month. She definitely takes care of me. She used to actually travel and do sessions with people. She does energy work as well as massage therapy. But yeah, she's great. And I always recommend people get at least, people that can afford it and that are just here in town, like, I recommend them to do at least like once every 2 weeks, at least once a month, just because it's not only taking care of your physical health, it's taking care of your mental health, I like to say, but I think it's quite interesting how, you are willing to, in a time where things are, there are people doing their different facets of whatever it is that they're doing creatively or in a business sense. I like that you can resonate with people's or have people resonate with spirituality through astrology, and especially people that know their birth charts. Like I'm just realizing that we have birth charts like as of like the last 3 years. I'm like, wait, what? And then like things always change. And so it's interesting because I feel like everything I do or everything I've done is leading me to a space that exists for me. And so it's good to see other people doing that in life as well. And that's what kind of like attracted me to, your energy that you and the frequency that you put out into the world, because you're doing something for yourself, but something that applies to others, and something that people can take away from. And I think that's very fascinating. And I personally think that you should be very proud of the work that you've accomplished thus far, Thank
you so much. That's so sweet. Yeah, there's reading, it's like you could read someone, like you could read your chart online, you could read someone's cards, but like my first mentor was like, if you don't want to be a counselor and if you don't want to help people, I'm not going to teach you. And I was like, that's something that's really stuck with me this whole time. And it's like, kind of what you were saying, it's like spirituality is something that resonates with everyone. It's like everyone wants to be connected to their spirit. whether you use that language or not, like everyone wants to have more connection to their essence, because that's where you are in your purpose. And so it's like, in the matrix, we're very much so, we're conditioned and we are not aligned because there's a lot of misalignment with our food, with the way we relate to the earth. So there's a lot of misalignment, and the unlearning is actually the astrological process. Or, you can do the unlearning with any modality, really. But because astrology is something that is a very organized way of understanding all the various forms of consciousness within the self, it is something that is liberating, and like, that's really all that I want to share, is like how I've been able to be, in a sense, a lot more in alignment, and also in a way liberated, because I'm not going to be influenced by things that are not aligned to my being. And yeah, when people are doing, and I think like maybe you saw this like in your ayahuasca experience, it's like when you're in the medicine and you're witnessing people just like connecting more deeply with their spirit, it's like you could literally see how like the soul is just so big, and that when people are in that space, it allows them to really just like not be influenced by like pettiness, not be influenced by even their own conditioning. And it's really powerful when you're just like connected to your spirit, because you could feel that.
Yeah, I had when I got out of my ayahuasca trip, so I had three visions about three people I had never met, and I was like, Spirit, are you sure you want me to reveal these to people, like, about these spiritual gifts that I have? And Spirit was very like assuring that I must. So when I got out of it, I told these people these specific things, and it resonated hard with them. And like the people that I came there with were like, what the hell? He's leaving here a psychic. It was just so weird. Such a weird experience. But my channel, I first created my channel on like the weird, the creepy, the unexplainable. And even though I don't focus on like those things now, I will always focus on those topics for as long as I live, because those are things that interest me, So I feel like your story, your path fits well with, the theme of my channel. 𝚑𝚘, in your experience, because I know that you haven't experienced like too much paranormal experience, but you are a pretty spiritual person. I'd have to say, 𝚑𝚘, what do you like think overall about like because I know you don't understand too much about astrology, but I feel like you understand about like your own spiritual path, you know what I mean? And so let's wrap, we have about like, I would say 6 minutes. Let's wrap this up with like kind of resonating with, just kind of like reviewing and final thoughts, and how your spiritual journey kind of resonates with this specific topic, 𝚑𝚘.
Yeah, like my spiritual journey, it's still going, but over the last few years, like I really, for me, like spirituality is like love and learning about self-love and respecting nature, because as you all were talking about, like we live in this matrix, I call it the institution, and we've been so conditioned and institutionalized that we have forgot to respect and love nature, and we've abused it. So that's like my spiritual journey, is to be more mindful of the things I consume, be more mindful of the things I think and the things I say, be more mindful of people's humanity and respect people's humanity, and like stop demonizing people for what they might choose to do with themselves. So yeah, that's been like my spiritual journey, is just to be more loving, more accepting, more open-minded, and respecting nature.
I love that. I really do love that, because I feel like my spiritual journey was all about like self-love, so that I can because I'm kind of like, I'm like, I feel happiest the most when other people are happy, and I feel happiest the most when I can make others happy. So I feel like allowing people to get in touch with their creativity or their self-love is something that I just enjoy doing in this lifetime. So I'm glad that I was able to go through my self-love journey so that I can be here to help others. That's kind of what I'm always thankful for, to be honest. But yeah, what about you and like your never-ending spiritual path, Oak? What are you kind of grateful for, and kind of like or highlights in your path?
I was just thinking about this today, and I was just like in tears because I was thinking about the people that have just been coming to me for classes and for readings, and there's just this deep trust in me. And you know, I worked really hard to be where I am, and just like constant studying. Like I'm always taking classes, even still, and it'll just never end. But I think like a lot of the things that I share and when I give counsel to someone, it comes from life experience. Like it's not something that was handed to me. Like everything I have, all the classes I've taken, like I've had to work really hard, especially coming from not a lot of money. And now I feel like people book sessions with me, and all the money that I get, it just goes straight back to my healing. And that makes me better at, you know, providing sight, providing knowledge for people. And I'm just grateful that I'm able to do it, because it's like the more successful I am, the more that I'm able to really continually invest in my healing. And that just makes my sessions better. It makes me a better reader. It makes me a better healer. And it's just like, to be at a place now where I can just appreciate it is like, oh, it's really powerful.
I love that. I love you. I love your journey. I wish you so much luck, like, you know, continuously on your journey. I may, like, you know, in the future might take a class or two, who knows? Like, that's very scary for me. Okay. The thing is that, okay, so like it's okay. So I feel like when my friend was explaining it, and then like you pertain it to your own life and your own chart, it's like just life changing, I've heard, you know what I mean? And you don't see life quite the same, you know, as you once did. I don't know if I'm ready for all that, because it's like, I like to, oh, really quickly. So you were saying about like your healing and your self-health. Do you like drink or anything like that nature? Do you drink, like have an occasional drink? No?
Not anymore.
No alcohol at all? That's awesome. See,
Not
that's
anymore.
one of my goals. But I mean, red wine has been one of my weaknesses lately. But I mean, that will change, you know. I want to get back on the path of like just clean body, you know what I mean? And I think that is something that I will work hard towards. So thank you for your stories and your experience on that. And yeah, any final thoughts, Kender?
I just want to say, like, you said, like, you're able to finally appreciate things, appreciate where you're at. And I think that's like key to like success, is being grateful and appreciative of what you do have, and, you know, what is currently in your life. Because oftentimes we want more, and we want more, and we want more, and we want more. But we are going to live lives of abundance, but it is about being appreciative and being grateful for what you have in the current moment.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And thank you so much for just making some extra time out of your week to just hang out on our podcast. Because to be honest, we just allow people with all different walks of life just to kind of tell their story, put light upon the things that they're doing. So I thank you very much for making time for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kinder. Thank you, Lotus.
Yes, we'll talk to you soon for sure.